A couple of months ago, I released a video looking at the history and development of the Moonswatch. Something I didn't mention in that video is that I fear its release and surrounding hype was akin to opening Pandora's box. Other watch brands have clocked on, and there has been a rise in plastic watches with quartz movements from recognised Swiss makers in the past couple of years. Recently, the asking prices for those watches have started to rise and rise. This video will look closer at that development and try to discern what is really going on in the industry. Before we get into Kith Heuer, I want to talk about brand value for a moment. Swatch chronographs are available for around the £115 mark, and their bioceramic models are mostly in the £80 to £130 range. While I don't think one exists outside of the Moonswatch, a bioceramic chronograph would probably be priced at somewhere between £130 and £150 based on these price ranges. With a launch RRP of £207, that implies that the added brand value of the Speedmaster design and Omega logo to the Moonswatch range is somewhere between £60 and £80. Now, clearly, given the initial demand for the watches, the public thought that it was worth more than that, and models trading hands on eBay commanded significantly higher prices than the recommended retail. While there are some who would argue that £207 for a quartz plastic watch is a rip-off, no matter what it says on the dial, compared to the other recent offerings from some other brands, the Moonswatch starts to look like a bit of a bargain. Something that springs to mind here is the Icon Tide range from Maurice Lacroix. The company doesn't have a UK page, but the RRP for these models starts at $760 and goes all the way up to $935, which roughly equates to £600 to £750. Effectively, you could have 3 Moonswatches for the cost of one of these. The Tide range is made from recycled ocean plastic, which is commendable, but not exactly a premium material, and it's powered by a quartz movement which has a date complication. The implication here is that the brand value for Maurice Lacroix is several magnitudes higher than Omega. That just doesn't make much sense to me. Now, clearly the economy of scale is going to allow a collaboration within the Swatch Group to produce watches like this at a lower price point, but the gap is huge here. Now, I don't want to conflate my opinion on the watch with its price. There are some bright, bold and colourful options here that would make for great holiday or summer watches. Just like the Moonswatch, one aim of these Tide models is to introduce new people to the brand. Omega have reported increases in interest and sales for their Speedmaster models as a result of the Moonswatch ranges. Some of the Icon Tide models are very clear about their aims, stating that they are designed for Gen Zers. Now, this is maybe the most old man thing I've ever said, but I do see value in trying to get new generations into horology and away from over-reliance on smartphones. I also see value in making products out of materials that would otherwise be damaging the environment, and I like the summer vibes of these models. The issue here is purely price. You can get the real Icon Quartz for the same price as some of these Tide models. It's quite the upgrade too, with stainless steel, the integrated bracelet and a significantly longer lifespan. Buying a Moonswatch over the real thing is thousands of pounds less and comes at a price point that, while not cheap, is not completely outrageous. I just don't see how the Tide model is going to attract a new generation of customers when it's starting at £600. The court of public sentiment clearly doesn't value the Maurice Lacroix brand as highly as Omega either, as you can pick this model up for £200 to £300 brand new on eBay, well under the RRP. Now to the question at hand, what exactly is Kith Heuer? Well, given the nature of this channel, I don't want to insult my audience and try and explain what a tag Heuer is, but I've never heard of Kith before. To try and find out more about this watch collaboration, I started on the Kith website, which states, established in 2011, Kith operates on 2 planes, a multifunctional lifestyle brand for men, women and kids, as well as a progressive retail establishment. Our 8 brick and mortar flagship stores were designed in partnership with Snarkitecture as we push the boundaries to deliver customers a completely unique experience. We offer an array of premium products ranging from our own in-house label to a curated selection of multi-brand apparel and footwear. Now, The fact that I've never heard of the brand before doesn't really mean much because I am not remotely close to the cutting edge of fashion. What I did find out on the website was that actually the collaboration goes both ways, and Kith are selling Kith Heuer branded jackets, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and of course the watches. Many of the products in the line are already sold out, including every single watch model, and considering a t-shirt is £72 and the jacket is over £1,000, I can only assume that this brand must mean something to quite a few people. On to the watches in this collaboration. There are 8 models available through Kith online, all of which sold out almost immediately, and there are 3 models being sold by Kith Heuer in selected stores worldwide, 2 of which are exclusive, the green and blue version, and 1 which was available for both companies. The Kith models are each designed after a specific city where they have a store. As with the other models we've looked at in this video, the Kith Heuer Formula 1 collaboration is a cheaper to produce quartz model of an existing classic, in this case the Formula 1 Series 1 from 1986. Some of the models are steel, some are made from arnite, a high performance plastic. The tenuous link to Kith is that the Formula 1 is the model that first got Ronnie Feig, the founder, involved in watch collecting. Looking at the watches themselves, while they are designed after specific cities, I like to think that these models have colourways based on classic racing liveries. It might be that more information on the specific colours and their design inspirations is available in the catalogue book for the collection, but given that people are trying to hawk them on eBay for £30 or over, I will just go with my assumption on that. Some of the colourways are a real hit for me and others a real mess, and it's no surprise to see that people are asking more on eBay for some colourways compared to others. Personally, I'm a fan of the yellow and black version, but again there is a problem with it when it comes to pricing of this watch. The RRP is £1,350. That's very close to the retail cost of a modern Formula 1 and at least £1,000 more than an actual vintage Formula 1 model from the 90s. As a fan of horology, if we're talking about brand value, adding Kith into the mix is not actually a positive for me at all. I'd much rather just have a tag. So from my perspective, the value added is negative and certainly not deserving of a £1,350 asking price for what is a plastic quartz watch. Now I want to be clear, I have absolutely nothing against a plastic quartz watch. Far from it, I own plenty, but I am not a fan of this trend of overcharging for them simply for a logo on the dial. Now obviously this goes on in horology all the time. You'd pay more for a watch with a crown on the dial than a Casio logo. But if these models are to attract a new generation of watch lovers, they're going to be starting the hobby by getting seriously ripped off. It's a far cry from the value of entry-level models of old. Further down the luxury scale of brands, Ulysse Nardin have been producing plastic watches with their Ocean Race diver. It's a nice looking, if overly large, dive watch that features a UN 118 caliber movement, not a quartz, and a hefty $12,000 price tag to boot. They state that the watch is their way of drawing attention to the idea of upcycling and removing plastic from the ocean. Again, admirable, but with a limited run of 200 watches, I find it really hard to believe that the environmental saving isn't counteracted by the research, development, travel and manufacturing involved in a new model like this. They have since released other limited models using the same materials, but all in very small runs. The reason for bringing this model up is the use of plastic in and of itself does not mean the watch should be immediately cheap. Some plastics are not inherently cheap materials to produce, as the term covers a wide spectrum. A number of Grand Seiko watches feature handmade and finished quartz movements that are significantly more accurate than any commercial mechanical or automatic movements. So, just like the plastic cases, a watch being quartz does not inherently make it cheap either. So why am I saying this? I don't want to imply that just because a watch is plastic and quartz that it should immediately be inexpensive or in some way looked down upon. It is possible that behind the scenes there is something happening with these models that merits these price tags. If that is the case though, it isn't inherently obvious from any of the available advertising material. I think it's important that as consumers, we look out for models that we feel are blatant cash grabs. We are already seeing a number of modern industries trying to do their best to charge more for less. Shrinkflation, the monetization of games, and inflation in general. If we as consumers don't call out these issues, they will never change. I'm not trying to comment on the quality, wearing experience or desirability of any of these watches, but it does seem to me at least there is a huge markup going on simply for the brand name on the dial. As ever, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, consider dropping the video a like and subscribing for more content like this.